Hi, Dave. I managed to finish number 14 of the Hellblazers.
Goodness.
Well,
Good
they
to see.
weren't, each issue wasn't terribly long.
Still, that's quite impressive. Okay, cool.
Well, that was, so I did 12 comics,
Yeah,
12 issues.
yeah, right. Yeah.
Well, I did find them slightly enjoyable. I think there was sort of an adventure element. So, it's sort of like tune in next week to find out what happens to Constantine. So that aspect works. Uh, when it comes to the artwork, I'm thinking, what the hell?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh.
it, uh, but I'm looking at stuff like this. Look at the kid's face. What the hell?
Mm, yeah, all I'm seeing is black. You got the share? I just see a black screen.
Oh, rightio. Stop share. Yeah.
Got
What's going on there? Okay. Try again. There we go. This should be showing there.
now got it. Yeah, okay, got it now. Yeah.
Well, I mean, really, come on.
Mm-hmm.
This is like yeah, you look at the girl's face and it's just contradicting itself. It's like it just nothing matches there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you got any self-respect, you got to be discontent with that, haven't you?
Wow.
Well, this was the last one where he joins with the hippies. Uh,
Right.
I checked the whatever it was, the wiki guide on it, and so this hippie stream continues for quite a number of issues. Anyway, for some reason, the cops have caught up with, oh, okay, so it explains who he is, ex-mental patient, punk rocker. So this is Sting when he never made it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's, yeah, it's the human figures in particular. There's just something, sort of like they used to say about Adolf Hitler's art that, he could sort of draw buildings, but just didn't make it with human figures.
Well, well, I've certainly seen a lot worse.
Okay, so he's in the battle between Hell's Army and the Revival Crusade.
Mm. Yeah, remember if you switch to a different comic, then you got to switch which one you're sharing.
Okay, right, yeah.
That's all. It's just it stays on whichever one you're sharing until you change it. Yeah, right.
What's her name? So he meets this girl whose father is the leader of a fanatical Christian cult.
Right.
What's the name? Zed. That was her name, yeah, Zed. Did you look through these this week or?
Oh, I remember reading this when it was coming out at the time. Perhaps not all of it, but enough of it. You know, Constantine got very, very popular very, very quickly from Swamp Thing. Then they gave him his own book, and it's amazing how the character's popularity has just kept going to this day. Constantine comics are still being published, and there was a TV show and
I'll
occasional,
write a TV series, you
and he
mean?
pops up in the animation shows and movies. Character's got a lot of mileage now.
Well, if he's Sting, then he'd be getting a bit on by this stage, wouldn't he? He'd be in his mid-70s.
There have been a number of, well, that gets into the whole thing we talked about back in Swamp Thing, which is the thing about, a lot of these characters are 40, 50, 60, 70 years old. And there's a number of different strategies you can employ when that's the case. One is just to think that it all takes place in the same continuity, and the other is to reboot the whole production periodically and start over from the beginning every now and again. Neither one really works very well, but in the case of the specific Hellblazer series that we're reading right now, my understanding is there is an actual conclusion. It actually does go to the end, and there's an ending to this particular iteration of the character. Yes, if you go all the way to the end of it.
Okay, that's the 300
There is an ending to
issues.
this specific iteration of the character. The character himself goes on, but that's a different iteration. It's like, I don't know, it's like James Bond or it's like Doctor Who. The actor changes, but there's always going to be the character.
Well, I suppose they had artist changes. Did the writers change?
My understanding, I might possibly be wrong, but my understanding is this is all Jamie Delano who's doing this particular iteration of Constantine. But there are still Constantine comics being published to this day. I don't think they're connected to the Delano comics that we're reading here. I think this is like Delano's own specific Constantine universe. That's my understanding, but it's possible I'm in error on a specific or two. but that's my understanding, the way I understand it. You know what it was? I'll tell you what it was. Here's what it was. The thing of it was, at the time, well, DC and Marvel comics, this goes into it a little bit more deeply than I think you were asking about. But there was sort of a thing about adult comics, and a lot of these comics were being sold in specialty comic stores where there were less restrictions because they weren't being sold on newsstands where children could buy them. So there were more adult themes. And so, well, Marvel had its own process, but what DC wanted to do is they wanted to differentiate comics that were more for mature audiences and comics that were for okay for children to buy. Children were buying, which would be, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Justice League. Those were comics that
Yeah, Donald
children
Duck.
could actually buy. And they wanted to say, okay, now we're also going to be publishing comics that are for mature readers. And there's a long list of those, and Constantine was one of those readers, was one of those titles. And they wanted to make a sharp differentiation between those two, and they weren't going to cross over. And Sandman was also one of those. And so the law was that they couldn't cross over. You could have the Justice League and Batman and Wonder Woman and Green Lantern, and they were in their own universe. And then over here you'd have Sandman and Swamp Thing and John Constantine, and they would be in their own universe, and there wouldn't be any mixture of the two, like
Oh,
what we
okay,
saw with
Superman got in Sandman, didn't he?
what we saw with Swamp Thing. We saw a lot of the Justice League characters in Swamp Thing. They stopped that, so you couldn't have the children's general readership characters meeting and interacting with adult, mature readers characters, and so they made that distinction. That lasted for a long time. That lasted for like 20 years, and so there was really no understanding that these were all taking place in the same continuity, same universe. And eventually, the leadership and organization structure at DC changed, and they got rid of that entirely. And then they merged the universes back again. But when that happened, we were already on another uh, iteration of the characters. It was a different iteration of John Constantine, and et cetera, et cetera. So this particular iteration of John Constantine that we're reading about, yes, he's pretty much self-enclosed to his own thing. We're not connected to the larger DC universe. And eventually that story will end. But the Constantine that's currently being written about and appears in comics right at the moment, that's a different iteration of Constantine. None of this really matters. You don't really need to know any of this. If you really want to continue with reading Constantine comics, which you probably don't, but then it would be of interest or importance. But
I might,
ultimately, it doesn't really matter.
I might persevere a little bit more with Constantine, so just sort of
Yeah.
interested in understanding his universe more. It's
Okay.
what I've seen so far is a little bit interesting.
Yeah.
Uh,
Delano's run, I think you are right. It does last for up until like 300s. But
yeah.
there is an ending to that story.
Oh, okay. Now you mean by an ending? Is this an ending that comes with issue 300, or
Right. That's
do they reboot Constantine somewhere in the series?
not the series that we're reading now until that story ends, comes to its end, and that's the end of that iteration of Constantine.
Yeah, well,
And
I did see that there were new types of issues
yeah, and then after
came up.
that, they'll do the reboot. It's like when you watch a Spider-Man movie today. You don't think this is the same Spider-Man as the Spider-Man in the movie that was happening 30 years ago. It's Spider-Man, but it's a different Spider-Man. It makes sense when you think about it, but why bother thinking about it? It would be my question. It does make sense when you think about it.
Yeah, just a message from Natalia. It's weird with her. She doesn't, you sort of put some information down, and it's sort of like she doesn't read it properly. Like, yeah, I sent her a link, and she goes, "Oh, is that today? Is it?" Well, you can look at the meetup page. Or maybe she's having trouble as well, and well, she actually knows what the meeting is. All right, this one's coming up. And it's the atheist meeting, which she knows about. She knows it's always on the second Thursday
Right,
of each month. And then
right,
she's asking, is it today?
right,
And she's got this sort of amazing ability to just sort of skip
right,
information. I imagine we all make that error, but she's sort of,
right.
oh, you've probably dealt with more types than me, I imagine. More
I
examples of humanity.
I am very familiar with the phenomenon you are describing. Yes, very familiar. I was listening to a panel discussion just the other day, and I heard a great analogy. Someone was saying we're basically living in Flowers for Algernon, but
Oh, yeah, the human brain is dying, is it?
applied to the entirety of the civilization. We are living in an entire civilization going through Flowers for Algernon.
Okay. Oh, it's about 60 years ago when I read that, I think. Oh, 50 years ago? Yeah, a little bit over 50 years ago. It was sort of a year six reader, I think. Year seven, something like that. I was looking at one thing. I think it summed it up rather well. Yeah, it's one of those crazy YouTube links. And the point he was making, he makes quite a good point, actually. Uh, yeah, it's one saying people have changed and it's actually terrifying. And and what he's saying is, don't mind so much that your brain's going down the toilet. The first thing is to notice it, to keep your mind on that you got a problem. And, if your brain's still going down the toilet, uh, that's cool, but that's just notice what's going on. Be aware that there's a problem. He's sort of making the claim that's, it's stuff like the media and, that we're sort of being read and they're trying to present us with advertising stuff when they think we're vulnerable or open to it. And I think people, certain sorts of minds are very easily influenced. Some people are very open. And in this sort of circumstance, it tends to be advantage if you are a bit of a closed off person. If I was a much more open person, I'd be much more susceptible to the stuff that's in the media. Yeah. It's like, I was buying a couple of bottles of wine, yeah, $12. Gave the girl a $20 note. She was already tallying it up on the machine. And then I gave her $2 so she could just give me a straight $10 change. As soon as I did that, she froze.
Mm.
She couldn't work it out. She called over another staff person to help. Maybe I could have sort of,
Mhm, mhm,
I think maybe I did say something, sort of like, yeah, you just have to give me 10 back or something like that.
mhm, mhm,
It's another girl, a chemist, so she was trying to work out what half 25 was. And she got her fingers out, but she got it after about half a minute. I realise now that a lot of our, ability to calculate, sort of this basic mathematics is probably a lot of it is rote. Back 50 years ago, you're doing stuff, you're doing it all the time. But today we don't. Today I try to keep an eye on how much I'm eating and how many calories, and I've been doing this for years and not terribly good at losing weight, but it's a very useful exercise in mathematics because I'm just doing some basic addition every day. But anyway, we've got the Hellblazer universe. So let's see. Heaven's full of angels who are very solid citizens and absolutely stuck up pricks, with none of that Jesus sort of forgiveness in them. And so his picture of the heavenly forces is uh, C.S. Lewis was, I think it was C.S. Lewis who was pointing out that if people were made to be good, they wouldn't really be moral creatures because you can only be a moral creature if you have a choice between good and evil. But obviously, Hellblazer's version of heaven is this is the law, man, and you obey. And so heaven's really heavy dude. So Constantine's really stuck between two universes which aren't really particularly nice. So it's more law and chaos than good and evil. Yeah, I remember the first couple. He had that friend of his who become infected with evil spirits, and he sacrifices him in the thing. So quite there was the other guy who went into the astral plane and his body got burned up. So it doesn't pay to have Constantine as your friend always.
Classic anti-hero.
Yeah, I was looking up the thing, and yeah, he's rated. Some are rated as good, and others are rated as bad. He's rated as neutral.
Mhm.
I mean, this it certainly doesn't fit the movie, or the movie didn't fit the comic. I was looking through the database of the issues. So he starts out his life experimenting in magic. Sounds a bit like Alan Moore.
Hmm.
I was a bit curious about some aspects of the occult, and I did know friends who went in for all the ritual magic and that sort of stuff.
Hmm.
And of course, when you're young, you tend to be big on exploration.
Hmm.
You want to experience new and crazy things, but when you get older, one day you sort of come to the conclusion that, well, uh, you're really just a certain type of creature, and there's things which are appropriate and things which aren't. And yeah, so Constantine's a person that went into the inappropriate world and got damaged by it.
So we're on 14.
Yeah. It's 14 was the last one you gave me.
Yeah. So this might take a minute or two. Doo-doo-doo. Turns out there's a daily limit, and I did not know that.
for downloads
So
via.
because of that, I'm gonna change the way I do it. I didn't know there was a daily limit. I did not know that. That's news to me.
Or what, that's going via Zoom, you mean?
So I'm going to alter my strategy. I have to conserve how many downloads. So here's the way it'll work. I'm going to give you the download page and you can download it, which should work. See, okay, so that is a link to the page. So if you click on it, then you will download it. And that should work. It should work. I'll bet you it works. That means I didn't download it. It means you downloaded it. So I can retain my allotted number of downloads for the day.
Okay, please wait so many seconds to download this file. Well, you have to wait until the seconds go up before you try and download it.
That's the way it works.
So you've been doing quite a few downloads today or something like that.
Possible they changed the rule. It's possible they changed something and I just didn't notice until now.
Okay, Hellblazer 15.
Right. Uh, I don't see any reason we can't keep going the way we've been doing it. As soon as we build up another amount, we will schedule another meeting and we'll see how far we got. I mean, the Delano run was very popular in its day, and a lot of people said it was a high quality, got very good reviews.
That's the whole 300, is it?
Well,
That's the that's the where is he?
I guess we'll see. I don't have any plan in mind for specific periodicity of when
Okay.
we will do a Hellblazer meeting.
Okay, Jamie Delano.
Yeah, it's
And
Jamie because he's British.
John Ridgway was a penciler for so many issues, and then somebody else. Okay, born 1954. He was handpicked by Alan Moore to write the book after the character was introduced. Supporting character in Moore's saga of the Swamp Thing.
Do you remember that?
Okay, so Hellblazer 2, is it? Hellblazer 3. Oh, okay, yeah, issue 3 was the yuppies that were borrowing money from the devil, or one of the devils anyway. So that was sort of like the 1980s, the rise of the new money.
Only anyone knew what was to come.
Oh, what was to come? You mean our value system would be hollowed out? Yeah, that's something I see, that little bit of philosophy where I did the thing with the Plato's government, well, society types. And it does seem to make sense. You get the aristocratic democracy style, and they have what we would term spiritual values. The aristocrat, the legendary aristocrat is the hero who self overcomes and, like Beowulf or something, leads his heroes into a community to save them from the monsters or something like that. And these are all, the higher values. An example of democracy is, for example, how the medieval samurai became the real power, and the emperor simply became a figurehead. But again, they have, honor and loyalty, the highest virtues with the mafia or something like that. But you get to oligarchy, and that just reflects the development of the mercantile class and capitalism, and it's money. The the mercantile world does make money. It does raise people's standards of living. It does create inventions. And so it creates a lot of nice material stuff. But its values are sparse. The value of the oligarchy capitalistic world is prudence with money. Uh, and they're sort of like the banal soy, sort of, the professionals, and they have a certain level that they operate at. But when you get to democracy, at first it involves the banal soy, but then in our democracy anyway, then the doulos class has the vote, and they can influence government. And they end up voting for all the things that slaves love. And what do slaves love most of all? Somebody else to tell them what to do. And naturally, you go from democracy to tyranny. I mean, currently you look at both sides of the American political spectrum, and they are becoming tyrannical. It's typical pattern. They're practicing. Both sides will practice lawfare. They'll abuse the legal system in pursuit of power. Uh, I'll probably say Trump is a lot more blunt about it than the other side. They try to pretend that they're still democratic. Uh, well, this is the risk you face when you sign up to Google. You know, it's Moorcock syndrome. Who's master, Stormbringer or Elric? That when you sign up to a system, Yeah, of course, this is Hegel as a bit as well, that you become the slave of what you depend on, even though you're supposed to be the customer. And so, yeah, in democracy, the values are very superficial. People want handouts. They want impossible things because the slave class, as Nietzsche noted, don't really think stuff out very well. They're like children that want a parent to give them everything. And so, yeah, with the 1980s, we had a new phase. 50 years ago, they still paid a sort of lip service to the Christian values, which had something going for them. As Nietzsche pointed out, in Christianity, the individual has some sort of value, no matter how bad you are. Simply because you're a soul, you've got a value. The devil will pay you a price for it. But in a purely secular world, people can be a zero or even have a negative value. And of course, Hellblazer's world uh, is one which is not Christian. Uh, the uh, the heavenly beings are very heavy dudes who like strict observance of the law, so they're Old Testament types. Number three going for it. So issue number three going for it, the yuppie episode where yuppies find out due to the strict interpretation of their contracts, their souls are gone when they can't pay up anymore. And Constantine causes a large economic hiccup on the stock market, which is something which happened in 1987. It was a very sudden, rather powerful drop. Okay, Gemma Masters is the relative of his who gets sucked into the Hell's Army character, who marries his victims by strangling them to death. Okay, number five was the Vietnam War issue, where somehow the different time streams become involved with each other. All right. All right, Constantine makes a stop there on his way to check on the Swamp Thing. All right. Number 6 is the one with the soccer hooligans who are turned into some sort of a weird demon. Uh, okay, this demon, Nagel, is the one which he fights for a while and eventually destroys. When Nagel comes to the astral plane, gets too close to heaven, and heaven doesn't like his stink, and so he gets destroyed. Oh, Damnation Army. Okay, that's the name of it. Okay, John and Zed have sex. Now he's got, oh, that's right, he received Nergal's blood, which tainted him, which sort of repaired all his injuries in the when he was in the hospital ward. So he's tainted Zed with the belief that the resurrection crowd would simply reject her. But of course, when heaven comes down to impregnate her, heaven is quite disgusted and destroys them all. Number 7, Ghost in the Machine. All right, this is the Richie Simpson bit where he goes into the astral plane and his body gets burned up. Number 8, Intensive Care. Okay, right, he's in the hospital. And the Deem Negril tempts him to take Negril's blood, which will heal him sort of suddenly. So number 9 is where he's getting chased by the piles of dirty clothes, and he runs in the Swamp Thing, who's formed himself out of the tobacco of his cigarettes. Sex and Death. Oh, okay. He lets Swamp Thing take over his body, who then tries to impregnate Abby Holland. Bit weird. Oh, okay, this is where we get on to the bit where the Resurrection Crusade plans to make Zed into the mother of the new god. Number 11, Newcastle. Okay, this was, I think, was this an episode in retrospect? Number 11. Okay. Okay, he's come to Newcastle, so is he reminiscing in this one? Okay, yeah, he's reminiscing, so this is filling in some of his background. Then we were a team. Okay, so he starts playing with the spirits and Ritual magic. Okay, this same artist again, the penciler. So we've gotten up to number 11. It's the Richard Piers Rayner. Yeah, I don't approve of his penciling skills. Okay, what do you think for that face?
You remember these characters from Swamp Thing?
Oh, yeah, actually, I don't remember the Constantine too well from Swamp Thing. I sort of just remember the image of him meeting Swamp Thing, and I don't follow the story too well. Can't recall the story. I'd have to check which issues of Swamp Thing Constantine showed up in. Was it simply one episode, or was there another one?
We could do a whole Swamp Thing day again. Wouldn't mind.
How did this guy ever get through art school? Okay, so some kid gets seized by a demon. Constantine screwed up, or something screwed up. So we see Constantine's fallen for another temptation, not just strange and unusual experiences, but power. Uh, so how are these images created? Are they sort of taken from photographs or something like that?
Um, all artists have their own process. And they do things differently. There are plenty of artists who use photo reference and plenty who do not. And that's just a case by case basis.
Oh, he's got his ghosties following him around. Oh well. So, I'll probably say is a little bit intriguing, but I was just curious as to what the phenomenon was. It's amazing, when I'm looking at people that a place where they go wrong is generalizing. Uh, like, sort of an insanity issue is when people start to think they're special. And it seems to be connected with, great generalized pictures of what people are supposed to be. And it means they haven't explored the issue of what it is to be a human in, much detail. I get the feeling with Goethe, they say, if you've got a very high IQ, I've heard, I remember claims in books when I was a kid that they reckon Goethe had an IQ of about 240. Uh, I get the feeling that the young Goethe was stark raving mad. And he got a grip on himself and found the issues that were making him mad and overcame it. So he was one of Nietzsche's heroes. He was a self-overcomer. And it's interesting what Goethe says. That was his big issue, was generalization, that we have to be careful with generalization. We can't operate in the world without generalizing, but its errors can create problems. I think probably with Matala, I get the feeling, yeah, you just can't get around the generalizations. Uh, it's sort of like people will keep on doing the same thing for as long as it seems to work until they really do slam into a brick wall, and they have to self-overcome a bit just to survive. As long as they can, get through the day, they'll just stick with the same old failing program as long as it doesn't kill them. What did Nietzsche say? What does not kill me makes me stronger. Number 13, Hellblazer issue 13, he was talking to seagulls, I think, having a dream sequence about the end of the world. Of course, I think the interesting thing with Constantine is basically it's warning that the universe is a big place and it's too big for an ordinary man to contain.
Yeah, it's certainly true. This title was a cut above the rest of what was being published at the time. It was well regarded and was one of the titles that the Vertigo imprint made its reputation on.
It's number 6, number 8. Oh,
And it's still well regarded to this day. People still remember it. And it was a cut above the general comics of the time. On Yeah, pretty much on the strength of Delano's writing.
All right, number 14, he finds himself some hippies. The cops are after him, so this was he naturally naturally a worshipper of the underdog. Orwell would warn you about that. Don't trust the underdogs. They're simply trying to become the new overdogs. All right, yeah, we're back to this one. Sort of these facial images are weird. I guess got some cows there. The cows look okay. You can draw cows. Okay, but the humans just tend to look weird.
Hmm.
I changed my thoughts when I was, in my early 20s. I thought, scratch a hippie and you'll find a fascist screaming to get out.
Hmm.
And there's a huge danger in calling yourself a good person. Was it Hannah Arendt or the philosophy? They say, no, you're simply a person who can do good or bad things. They ended up on that one. Bloody hell, I forgot to dig the sodden drainage, golly.
Hmm.
Okay, so this is the one I didn't read.
Well, guess we'll keep going. One a week, and we'll schedule a new Hellblazer catch-up meeting when there's a free week. I don't mind going through Hellblazer by Delano.
Okay, he makes out with the girl's mother.
You're still on. You're still sharing 14.
Oh, sorry. Silly me. I didn't think about that. Stop share. Okay, he's got a beard. Oh, this is the 1980s. This is when the hippies had decided the fascists were taking over, not realizing that the fascists that were taking over were former hippies.
Hmm.
Well, what happened in recent times, I think was one of the things they've banned people from rambling through the countryside, of Nova Scotia. That's right. I was looking at it. It's mainly forest, and they've banned people, uh, you know, camping in the forests because of the fire risk, they say.
Hmm.
So, you know,
Really?
yeah, it's Nova Scotia, yeah. Uh, so it's, it's going to become it's only going to become a world for those higher up in the hierarchy, whether it's capitalist or Marxist. Two sides of the same coin. Right, history. Okay, Nova Scotia bans people from walking in its woods. Of course, people misuse the word fascist and use fascist as a generic for all authoritarians, but the fascists were a specific group. And probably the best insight you can get in to the fascist world is Cabaret show that was from the early 1950s that understood the phenomenon much more. There's a sort of a dual phenomenon there that basically there were two types of socialists. There were the Marxists and the fascists who were a bit reactionary, and the powers that be, the capitalists and the landowners and all that, decided we're going to have to go with one, so we'll go with the lesser of two evils. And so, yeah, the fascists were socialists, which the capitalists cooperated with, and that's what the whole story of Cabaret show is about. You are aware of that particular story, are you? I haven't
Right.
seen the movie. Huh? What?
Yeah, I was going to mention the movie. Yeah.
You haven't seen the movie. You've seen it, have you?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's what the guy, his friends, he says to his friend, we'll use the Nazis to control the Marxists. The guy says, well, but will you be able to control the Nazis? Which actually is something that Franco, in a sense, did. Franco, in the proper sense of the words, was a fascist and yet wasn't. He used the fascists to achieve his games. He was just a conservative, he was a church, the capitalists and the landowners. And once he won the Spanish Civil War, he turned on the fascists and eliminated them. So he was a true sense of the noble who was using the fascists for his own ambitions. Well, the phalangists anyway, I suppose the equivalent to what do they call them, the German troops who came back and fought against the Marxists. So yeah, they formed militias, fascist troop militias. The Free Corps, that was him. I suppose the problem is people want simple answers, simple generalized ideas which will work for them. I wonder if this is Metallia again. She was thinking of going swimming. 2 cat videos. You never thought cat videos could be a danger to your mental health, did you?
Hmm.
Now she's decided, oh, she won't go swimming.
Hmm.
Yesterday, she sent me a message and said, could I ring you up today? So it was about like 12. And anyway, I went and did some gardening and sent her a message. And I said, well, do you want a phone call now? She said, no, I'm too tired after 7.
Mm-hmm.
So I go up the shops, which is my little routine, exercise. I go for a walk up the shops. It's a kilometre up to the shops and a kilometre back. I get back and she's taken off for the city. She said, oh, that's right. She said, ring after 7 p.m. or whatever. But she's changed her mind again. So after knowing Metallia for many years, I'm starting to see that there's a few issues she's struggling with. I'd always thought she could get back and try and work on her comic strip again, but just pencil, don't bother the colour. Steal a story and work on it, rework it. Fix all the mistakes, introduce more interesting ideas. Thanks, Joey. So what was Thanks, Joey all about? That's a comic strip about comic fandom, is it?
Which one? Say that again.
Uh, you put in the Facebook, you put in a comic episode, which starts off, thanks, Joey. I'm glad a friend talked me into going up to Hollywood to see the Ramones. I think you've put these in before. There's something to do with comic fandom and publication, I think. You just put it in yesterday, I think. It's in that little Facebook chat you have with Metallia. Yeah, that was it. Yeah. I can't quite, sort out all the deep and meaningfuls in this. You're probably aware of a few issues that I don't have much insight into.
Just thought you might appreciate another Mary Fleener page.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we've done one or two of her comics, haven't we? This is when she was young and dumb enough to engage in pop star fandom,
Huh.
following the sacred, not realizing that pop stars are just average people with a talent for making music. You have to watch out for the Meister singers. They're nothing but trouble.
Uh,
Any medieval baron will warn you. Yeah, I have heard the name of the Ramones. I'm not too familiar with their music.
for several thousand years, the heroes of mankind were warriors. Today, the heroes are entertainers.
Celebrities, okay. And they're the prophets as well, because everyone thinks they're the the pinnacle of moral virtue. Despite the fact that the theoretical Jesus in the New Testament puts out a big warning. Watch out for the people that display their virtue in public. Well, my God, that's in our Kenneth Smith files as well, isn't it? Despite that huge warning there in the New Testament, what are they doing? They're all out eulogizing each other, displaying their virtue in public, which is so and such a shallow version of virtue. Oh, well, here's something.
Get through the hospital and feel
The ads on YouTube have become most annoying.
trailers rusted, but it's still a home. The yard's a mess, but we call it our throne. Beer cans rattle in the back of the truck. We make our own rules, we don't need luck. The dogs are barking, the grill's burning hot. Songs sing slow.
Oh, that's it.
And smoke the sky. Ain't no castle, but we got our pride out here in the dirt where we live and die. No wrong, no wrong. Just a beat up yard. We'll take it right, 'cause it ain't that hard. Raccoons in the trash, chickens in the coop, neighbors screaming loud about chicken soup. The nights get wild, but the more we slow. Another day with it.